I'm just over this white guilt, white shame type stuff. I'm not advocating for white supremacy. I'm just advocating the end of white silence and the end of white guilt and the end of white shame, because our culture participated in nothing that your culture hadn't participated in previously. We didn't start slavery, but we damn sure ended it.
Huh?
We didn't start slavery, but we damn sure ended it.
What?
I'm not saying that we're better than you, but we're damn sure not worse. We are the only group that you're demanding shut up. And because we're not doing it anymore, you're just going to scream racist louder and louder and louder. And we are done caring. We are not ashamed of who we are.
I will never apologize for being white, and so sick of being told to. Absolutely no apologies and zero guilt. As a woman of color, say it again. I get so sick and tired of the constant victim mentality. The fact that so many people agree with this is disturbing. So if you haven't heard about it already, there's a new narrative floating around called No More White Guilt. And yes, I'm serious. From big names like Elon Musk supporting it, to just everyday normal people, it's starting to gain a lot of traction. I mean, like I showed you before, just this TikTok alone has gotten a lot of engagement. That's not always an indicator of how people feel in real life, but it does mean something. So the meaning of the no more white guilt phrase is white people pretty much saying that they shouldn't feel personally guilty for slavery or racism that happened in the past. They're pretty much saying that they never owned any slaves and they never participated in the racist behavior that their ancestors engaged in. So they feel like they really have nothing to do with it.
White people need to stop falling for the propaganda of white guilt. Enough already. We were not around 200 years ago. I wasn't, my grandparents weren't, my great-grandparents weren't. Just stop. The world was a brutal and barbaric place all over the place.
White guilt is dead, and people are not happy about it. No one should feel guilty for the color of their skin. But yet me saying those 4 words, white guilt is dead, probably pissed a ton of you off. But stay mad.
I don't owe an apology to one motherfucking person. I cannot stand that white people are being told to apologize for, even though they've never done one racist thing in their fucking life. Have people gone fucking mad? Apologize for what?
I don't feel any white guilt. I don't feel any guilt. Hereditary guilt. I feel guilt for things I've done in my own life that have been wrong. I feel guilt sometimes for my actions towards other people, which are not as generous as they could have been. I feel guilt about my own life. I feel no hereditary guilt, and nobody else should either.
None of you alive today ever owned a slave. Not one of you have ever owned a plantation. None of you have a cotton field. Nothing. I don't ever want you to feel guilty because you're white, because that's stupid. I don't feel guilty for being Hispanic. Why should you feel guilty for being white?
Nobody's asking you to cry, nobody's asking you to hate yourself, and nobody's asking for a personal apology. This is about accountability. And honestly, I don't even know where y'all are getting that from, because nobody has ever said that. What black people want is fairness, equality, and recognition. That's it. Nobody's asking for anything extra. We want acknowledgement that our history didn't just end. We want to be able to have honest conversations about how systems still affect outcomes. We want equal treatment without having to prove our humanity first. And we want the ability to talk about our reality without being dismissed as emotional, angry, or manipulative. It's really just truth without defensiveness. We have history to prove everything. But honestly, that's part of the problem. A lot of y'all are willfully ignorant, and you're not even equipped to have this type of conversation because you don't know anything about black history. We're forced to learn about y'all history, but when it comes to ours, y'all don't care.
I hear a lot of people complain that we don't talk about black history enough. Well, yeah, maybe it's because y'all are busy stealing everyone else's history.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying Happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
Now, Black History Month has rather come to an end because there isn't very much Black history to have a month about. So the month gets shorter every year by a couple of days.
What does that mean to you, Black History Month? It means that that's racism because they don't celebrate White History Month. We don't have it. I'm part Italian. I don't have Italian History Month.
Caught on video, a noose controversy. You can clearly see this white firefighter tying a rope into a noose and handing it to a black firefighter.
And at first it was the thing where you could just throw the blame onto the educational system, but now with social media being so widely accessible and you having the ability to learn about this information, It's no excuse for it. And for a lot of people, instead of actually learning about our history, it's easier to just point fingers, even when you don't know what you're talking about at all.
We didn't start slavery, but we damn sure ended it.
That's like saying, yeah, I kidnapped her, but I let her go, so at least give me credit for that. You shouldn't have kidnapped her in the first place. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. White people did not end slavery. Stop saying that, because that totally discredits all of the hard work that my ancestors have put in to get us to the place that we're at now. Slavery ended because enslaved people forced it to end. There were constant rebellions, escapes, sabotage, and resistance that made slavery hard to maintain. There were abolitionists like Olaudah Equiano, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, abolitionists that fought against slavery through writing, legal challenges, organizing, and activism. The British abolition movement did help, but don't make it seem like white people ended slavery, because that's not the truth. I know y'all like to whitewash everything and make y'all the heroes in every story, but that's not the case. Y'all acting like slavery ended because y'all just had a change of heart one day. No, my ancestors put in work to make that happen. This wasn't out of generosity. Y'all didn't just wake up one morning, oh, you know what, we're just gonna let him free. That's not how that happened.
Our culture participated in nothing that your culture hadn't participated in previously.
This gotta be the most ignorant video of all time. I can't believe y'all are letting this man get away with these lies. This argument about slavery is extremely weak, and I'm very surprised that I don't see it being dismantled way more often. Did Africans willingly participate in the slave trade? Yes. Was that wrong for them to do? Yes. But what y'all need to understand is there is a big difference between African slavery and chattel slavery. I want to make a whole separate video about this, so I'll touch on this very briefly. African slavery usually enslaved war captives, people who couldn't repay their debts, social outsiders like foreigners, and economic labor needs. But it was a small scale operation. It wasn't plantation based. The difference with African slavery is many people could marry into the community. They could gain freedom. They could rise in status, and they could have children who were free. And it wasn't based on race, it wasn't based on skin color, and it wasn't based on ideas of biological inferiority. Those ideas were introduced by Europeans to justify chattel slavery. When Africans sold us into slavery, they did not know that it would mean a total loss of humanity for us. They did not know that we would legally be considered non-human property. It doesn't make it right, but they did not know that. They didn't know that it was a lifelong bondage with no path to freedom. They didn't know that our children and our grandchildren were going to be born into slavery, nor did they agree to that. They did not know that it was going to be industrial scale torture and labor. And they did not know that it was a racial system that was built around it. Europeans built a structure where Africans were permanently inferior, and whiteness was basically a justification for superiority. That's not how Africans understood identity or slavery. And not to mention, a lot of them were lied to about what was really going on in America. I feel like this conversation is only focused on slavery because if we have conversations about what happened after slavery, there's nothing that y'all can say. And there's nothing that y'all can say now, to be honest. But even if we totally disregarded slavery, what about black codes? What about the KKK? What about Jim Crow, redlining, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, 3 strikes law, Tuskegee syphilis, Mississippi appendectomy? What about forced sterilization programs, the Tulsa race massacre? All of these things were created to oppress black people. And that's only scratching the surface. There are so many others. But see, they would never talk about that because it don't fit their narrative. Nobody's asking for y'all to feel personally guilty. But what we do want is for y'all to take accountability and acknowledge all of the wrongdoing that has happened to black people throughout history. And that is still happening to this day. But y'all don't want to talk about that because, like I said, it don't fit the narrative, right? It's so bad to the point where y'all won't even acknowledge that there was any wrongdoing and won't even take the time to learn about our history to understand what is going on. But what y'all will do is try to go on social media and around to your friends and other people and spread a false narrative about us. Y'all do that like your life depend on it.
Okay, black women, listen up. Listen up. A black woman is speaking.
Let's say you had like 100 rats in like in a cage, and 13 of those rats were causing 60% of the issues in that cage. What should we do with those 13 rats?
I heard somebody say something the other day. They said there's two types of white people. It's white people, and then there are people that just so happen to be white. White people are the ones that support racism. They don't know about our history. They do things like vote against us, things like that. But then there's people that just so happen to be white that don't agree with any of that, that understand why we're in the position that we're in. They know about our history, and they try to do whatever they can to spread knowledge and debunk misinformation. They didn't say it exactly like that. I kind of changed it up a little bit, but I definitely agree with that statement. But I want to make this very clear. We're never going to forget about slavery. We're never going to forget about anything that happened after slavery, and we're never going to stop talking about it. Now, in the words of Mr. Kirk, have a good day.